On the night of June 14th, Eric stopped the tilt-a-whirl before the cycle ended. He had sold 12 tickets. There were 13 heads.
That ain't right. I only let 12 on.
His hand slammed the steel lever, the ride groaning to a halt. He counted again, eyes moving across the spinning tubs.
13. Still 13. What the hell is going on?
The ride stopped. 12 passengers got off, laughing and staggering, and then a small girl in a pale green dress stepped onto the platform. Her dress looked like it came from another era. She didn't look at anyone. She just smiled and walked toward the cotton candy stand. Halfway there, she vanished. Not behind a tent or into a crowd. She vanished mid-stride, as if she had never been there at all, where her small feet had touched the asphalt. Wet footprints glistened under the string lights. The midway was bone dry.
I sold 12 tickets. 12. There was no 13th passenger.
The footprints stretched 10 feet and stopped. No sign of the girl, only the hum of the midway and the distant whirl of other rides. Eric had worked the tilt-a-whirl for 12 seasons. Grease under his nails, a permanent squint from the sun. He'd seen kids refuse the carousel, staring at the wooden horses like they were alive. A woman once left her husband the moment she stepped off the haunted house ride.
Weird stuff happens at a carnival. Doesn't mean it's ghosts.
Every summer, he fixed bolts, yelled at teenagers, smoked behind the booth. He slept in his truck, coffee cold, the sun promising another hot day.
You keep your head down. You don't ask questions when the ticket count is off.
The carnival attracted strangeness. Spinning metal, loud music, it pulled at reality. But the girl in the green dress was different. That was a crack in the world, not a bad dream. Eric stood over the drying footprints and knew he couldn't explain this one away. The thing about working a carnival is you learn to recognize the faces that don't belong, the kind that make you count twice.
That drunk on the zipper kept pointing at nothing, saying a little girl had been beside him, smiling at him.
Eric had poured him a coffee and forgotten it. But years later, on this night, it came back sharp. He walked to the Ferris wheel. Jimmy was there, old and weathered, eyes reflecting the neon.
Spill it, kid. You've been staring at that ride like it might bite.
You remember that drunk couple seasons back, talking about a girl on the zipper?
Yeah, the green dress talk. Every carnival's got ghost stories. Keeps the rookies on their toes. Some swear they've seen her, a little girl in an old-timey dress, smiling. But it's just a tall tale.
Just a tall tale. Except I saw her tonight, and she walked off the ride.
Eric didn't say that aloud. Instead, he stared at the drying footprints and felt the weight of a story turning real. 6 hours earlier, the sun still warm, and the midway quiet. Eric walked the tilt-a-whirl alone, his boots heavy on the metal grating.
The air was wrong. Cold for June. Eric rubbed his arms and checked the ride anyway.
He walked the platform, checking the safety bars. Everything locked, everything normal. The first ticket sold quick, then another. 12 tickets by sundown, the usual count. He counted the stubs. 12. He checked the ride. 12 passengers boarded, laughing, the smell of cotton candy in the air. Eric climbed into the booth, his hand resting on the steel lever. The ride rumbled to life. The tilt-a-whirl spun, neon flickering to life as dusk deepened. Eric counted heads in the fading light.
12. Always 12. The ride hummed, and for a moment everything felt right.
The music played, the riders screamed. No sign yet of the 13th passenger. 90 seconds later, Eric would stop the ride early. But for now, the wheel turned and he saw only 12. The tilt-a-whirl spun through its cycle. Eric's eyes tracked the riders, counting by reflex. He stopped at 13.
That can't be right. I sold 12 tickets. 12.
He counted again, slower. 1, 2, 3. And then the extra. A small shape in a car, pale dress, sitting very still.
Where did she come from?
He hit the emergency stop. The ride groaned, the music cut. Passengers looked around, confused. But one didn't look confused at all. She was a girl, maybe 8 years old, in a pale green cotton dress that belonged to another century. She looked directly at Eric and smiled.
She's smiling, like she knows something I don't.
As the ride slowed to a halt, the girl's dress didn't flutter like the others. The air around her seemed colder. The other passengers started to unbuckle. The girl sat calmly, waiting. Eric's hands were shaking on the lever. He had seen weird things at the carnival, but never anything impossible. Until now, the girl stepped off the ride without a sound. Her dusty boots find the platform. The other passengers moved around her without a glance. She passed close enough that Eric saw the faded flowers on her collar. The pale green dress didn't move in the breeze. He blinked, and she was gone. Not behind a tent or into a crowd. She vanished mid-step, leaving nothing but a memory. He stumbled forward. On the dry asphalt, wet footprints glistened under the string lights, clear and surgical.
I saw her. Those footprints aren't a hallucination. Something was there. Did you see a little girl? Green dress. Old-fashioned. She walked right this way.
The vendor stared, a pink cone melting in his hand. No, girl, not tonight. He asked Eric if he was feeling okay. He looked back. The footprints were still there, 10 feet of impossibly wet steps that stopped dead. Nobody noticed.
They're still there. I am not crazy. She was real.
The carnival swirled, but Eric stood frozen, staring at the abrupt end of the trail, alone among the lights. Eric forced his legs back to the booth. He sold 12 tickets again, his voice flat, his eyes scanning faces for a pale dress that wasn't there. The ride rumbled to life. Halfway through the cycle, he saw her. Same car, same dress, same smile.
13 again. It's not a mistake. She's doing this on purpose.
This time, he didn't stop the ride. He watched her until the cycle ended, then watched her walk into the crowd and vanish, leaving only wet footprints, 10 feet of wet asphalt, stopping like a door had closed. Eric lit a cigarette with trembling fingers. He ran the ride a third time. Same 12 tickets, same 13 riders. By then, he just watched, motionless, as she smiled from her car.
She's not hurting anyone. She just wants to ride. But why me? Why my machine?
After the third ride, as the footprints evaporated, Eric closed the tilt a whirl. He told the boss it was a bad bearing. The lie came easy. The truth was harder. He was afraid to spin that wheel again. He stood there as the crowd thinned, the weight of 3 impossible rides settling into his bones. Something had found him, and it wasn't leaving. The next morning, the carnival tore down in silence. Eric avoided the tilt-a-whirl, his gaze sliding off the platform like a wound.
You look like hell, Eric. That ride still acting up?
I only sold 12 tickets last night. 12. But 13 people got off.
Probably some kid ducked under the barrier. You know how farm kids are.
Eric slid the ticket roll across the table. 12 stubs, no more. Jimmy glanced at it and pushed it back.
Weird nights happen. Don't let it eat you.
Back at the fairgrounds, Eric stood by his truck, watching the cotton candy stand disappear into a van. The air felt colder. The carnival packed up. Eric felt eyes on him that weren't there, a chill down his back as the trucks pulled out.
That girl is still here. I can feel her.
He climbed into his truck, the dread a passenger beside him. The carnival rolled on, but Eric knew the horror had just begun. 2 weeks later, at a county fair in Iowa, Eric loaded 12 passengers onto the tilt-a-whirl. His hands were steady, his eyes scanning the spinning cars. And there she was, the same pale green dress, the same serene smile. The extra passenger, who had no ticket. Eric watched her vanish into the crowd, then crouched and wrote the date in a small notebook. Iowa, 13 again.
It's not the fairground, it's the ride, or it's me.
Minnesota, then South Dakota. Every fair, at least once a season, the girl in green appeared on his ride, always the 13th passenger, his notebook filled with entries. He began searching old newspapers in motel rooms, scrolling through microfilm archives with no luck.
Nothing. No fire, no accident, no dead girl. She's not in any record.
Paranoia grew like rust. He jumped at shadows, avoided cotton candy, and flinched each time the ride began to spin.
She's following me. Not the ride. Me.
Through autumn and into the next season, the dread settled deep. No one else saw her, but she always came back. That winter, Eric drove back to southern Wisconsin. He found the public library, the microfilm room hushed and cold. For hours, he scrolled through old newspapers. Headlines about wars, harvests, county fairs. Nothing about a ghost. Then a 1949 article flashed across the screen. Tilt-a-whirl, fire claims child's life at county fair. The article described a traveling carnival fire. A little girl, trapped in her spinning car, died smiling. Below the text, a photograph. A young girl in a pale green cotton dress, staring directly at the camera.
That's her. That's the girl who rides with me. Her name was Margaret.
He printed the article. The ink was cheap, but her face was unmistakable. History had become his nightmare.
Why me? I wasn't born. I never knew her. Why is she tied to my ride?
The library closed. He sat in his truck, the faded photograph on the passenger seat. The cold Wisconsin wind rattled the windows. For the first time, the ghost had a name. And that name only deepened the bottomless, wordless dread. He found more clippings in the library's archive. Eyewitness accounts from 1949 filled in the gaps. The fire started during a busy cycle. The old motor sparked near the tilt mechanism. Margaret's car jammed on the incline, pinning her inside as flames spread through the ride. Witnesses said she never screamed. She smiled the whole time, as if she didn't realize the danger. Her body was recovered hours later, still in the pale green dress, the smile forever etched.
She died happy. That smile, it's the last thing she ever felt in this world.
Eric leaned back, the weight of a decades-old tragedy pressing down on him.
She's not haunting me. She's stuck in the happiest moment of her life.
The library's silence grew heavy. He understood why she always smiled, but understanding didn't erase the dread. He left with a new kind of fear. Spring 2018 arrived, and Eric was back on the road. The tilt-a-whirl felt heavier this season. On the first night of a Minnesota fair, he loaded 12 passengers as usual. His eyes never left the spinning cars. And there she was again, the pale green dress, the patient smile. Margaret, the ghost.
I know your name, Margaret. Why do you keep riding?
She looked directly at him, her smile unchanged. Then she walked into the crowd and vanished, leaving only wet footprints. The familiar 10 feet of damp prints ended abruptly on the dry ground. Nobody else saw.
It's not the fairground. She's not bound to Wisconsin. She's bound to me.
He tried the next night, and the next. Always the same. She appeared, smiled, and vanished.
This is my curse. I can't keep running.
For the first time in 12 years, Eric began to think about quitting the carnival. But dread kept his hands on the lever. The 2019 season dragged on, a blur of fairs and faces. Eric's hands trembled on the lever, his sleep broken by nightmares of green dresses.
I can't do this much longer. It's eating me alive.
Other carnies noticed. He stopped joking. stopped eating at the diner. The boss asked if he was sick.
Eric, you look like hell. When's the last time you slept?
I am done after next season, Jimmy. I can't do it anymore.
Maybe the getting out will get her out of your head. But if it don't, you know where I'll be.
Then 2020 arrived, and the pandemic shuttered the fairs. Eric's last season never started. He packed his gear in silence.
I hope you don't follow me, Margaret. I can't carry you another mile.
He drove away, the rearview mirror filled with the shrinking silhouette of the tilt-a-whirl. The road stretched ahead, but something in his chest told him the ride wasn't over. The carnival was behind him, but the dread rode shotgun, silent and patient as the ghost he couldn't see. The town was small, the house modest. Eric found work fixing lawnmowers, his hands still greasy, but his days quiet.
Lily was the good thing. The one pure piece of a life he never believed he deserved.
Sometimes a flash of pale green caught his eye at the grocery store. He blinked and it was gone, but at night, the dreams returned. The tilt-a-whirl spinning empty except for a silent, smiling girl.
It's over. She's not here. I am free.
He often stood at the window after midnight, watching the empty backyard. Waiting, Lily asked about the carnival once. Eric changed the subject and never brought it up again. When the county fair came to town, he found a reason to leave, his heart pounding. He told himself the past was buried. But some graves are shallow, and sometimes, late at night, he thought he heard the distant, tinny music of a calliope. The summer evening was soft, fireflies winking on the lawn. Eric grilled burgers while Lily danced in the grass, chasing their glow.
Daddy, who's that?
Eric turned, squinting at the shadowy corner of the fence. Nothing but the lilac bush swaying in the breeze.
The girl in the green dress. She says she wants to play with me.
Margaret. She followed me. She found my daughter.
Eric's blood froze. He dropped the spatula and lunged for Lily, scooping her into his arms and rushing to the house. He carried her inside. The screen door slamming behind them, his heart a frantic drum. He locked the deadbolt, his hands shaking so badly he could barely turn the key. Through the window, the backyard was empty, the swing still, the shadows undisturbed, as if nothing had happened.
I won't let you touch her. I'll burn the world if I have to.
For 2 weeks, Eric watched grainy footage of an empty backyard. The cameras caught nothing, but Lily's reports never stopped. He contacted a paranormal investigator. An email arrived with stark findings. The EMF readings are off the scale. It's as if the spirit is trapped in an emotional loop, feeding on a connection to this world. My guess, she's attached to you. Your years on the ride, she died in form, a bridge she can't cross.
A bridge. I am the reason she's here, haunting my daughter.
That evening, Lily stood at the window, waving at the dark corner. Daddy, she's waving back.
I can't take the passive route anymore. I have to face her.
He waited until the house was silent, then walked to the back door, hand on the knob.
Tomorrow night, I'll speak to her. Ask what she wants.
The moon cast long shadows across the grass. Somewhere in that darkness, Margaret smiled. The night he chose was moonless. The backyard, a pit of shadow. Eric stepped onto the cold grass, his voice steady.
Margaret, I know you can hear me. You've been on my ride, in my home. Tell me what you want.
Silence. The wind stilled. He waited, his heart pounding against his ribs.
You need to leave my family alone. Please, find your peace somewhere else.
Still nothing. He stood there, feeling foolish and cold, then walked inside.
Daddy, why did you make the green girl cry?
She heard me. She's sad. I didn't think.
She said you yelled at her. She just wants someone to play with.
Eric pulled Lily close, his throat tight. He had no answer. That night, he watched the empty corner from the kitchen window, wondering if he'd made things worse. Weeks passed, and Lily's crayon box emptied. She drew the same scene over and over. A spinning ride, and a girl in a green dress.
Daddy, look! This is Margaret on the tilt-a-whirl. She says she loves when it spins.
Sweetheart, that's just make-believe. She's not a real person.
She is real. She rides my toy horse and tells me secrets. She's my best friend.
Best friend. A ghost from a fire is my daughter's best friend. This is worse than any nightmare.
Eric called a priest. The man stood in the living room, his voice low and uncertain. The priest solemnly said, "I sense no evil, but something unquiet. It will not leave by my words." He left a blessing and a small cross. Lily found it and asked if it was for the green girl.
Nothing works. The holy water, the prayers. She just smiles and stays.
The drawing on the fridge stayed. Eric couldn't bring himself to take it down. A desperate plan. Take Lily to a small county fair. A tilt-a-whirl still spinning. Maybe there he could reason with the ghost. Eric kept his eyes on the ride, his heart heavy. The neon lights flickered, but no pale green dress appeared among the riders. Lily ate cotton candy, innocent to his dread. The ride cycled, empty of the 13th passenger. For once, it felt normal. Back home, Eric tucked Lily in. She looked up with a sleepy smile.
Daddy, Margaret said she liked the ride. She told me to say thank you.
Eric's blood went cold. She had been there, invisible, riding with them.
She doesn't need the ride. She doesn't need a fare. She just needs us.
The ghost wasn't bound to carnival grounds or spinning metal. She was bound to him, and now to his daughter.
I can never let her go. This is forever.
That night, he stared into the dark, the faint sound of a calliope echoing in his mind. The ride would never stop. Eric woke with a start at 3 in the morning, the house silent except for a soft, rhythmic tapping from the hallway. He swung his legs out and froze. A small, wet footprint shimmered on the hardwood, inches from the bed. Another footprint. Another. A trail leading down the hall, glistening in the dim light. He followed them to Lily's door, which was ajar. A faint green glow pulsed from the room beyond. Lily slept peacefully, her blankets undisturbed. The footprints stopped right beside her.
She was standing right here, watching my child sleep.
He stumbled to the living room and collapsed onto the couch, his hands shaking.
There's no lock that can keep her out. No prayer. She's part of this house now.
He realized he could not fight her. All he could do was endure. He covered his face and wept without sound. The weight of the ghost as real as the floor beneath him. Years blurred. Lily grew older, and the crayon drawing stopped, though sometimes a scrap of green paper would appear on her desk. Eric grew thin and gray. He walked the long way home to avoid the county fair's distant music. Most evenings he sat on the back steps alone, watching the dim corner of the yard. One fall evening, Lily, now 10, came out and sat beside him.
Daddy, I dreamed about the girl in green again. She said she's still my friend.
She never really leaves. As long as I am here, she'll be here. I know, sweetheart, I know.
He lit a cigarette, the tip glowing in the dusk. A single tear traced the smoke. He stared at the empty corner, where the grass seemed colder, the shadows a little deeper. The ghost was silent now, but she never left, and Eric knew he would carry her until the end. The night was quiet, deep into autumn. Eric sat alone in the living room, an untouched book in his lap. Then a sound crept through the walls, thin at first, a grinding mechanical whir. The unmistakable rhythm of a tilt-a-whirl. He stood and walked to the window. His heart a dull thud. The street outside was black and empty, but the ride kept spinning somewhere in his mind. On the windowsill, a small wet footprint appeared. As if placed by an invisible foot, a second footprint materialized on the floor beside him, the water beating on the wood.
Margaret,
Silence. The ghost offered no reply. Only the fading grind of the phantom ride. He closed his eyes, and the sound dissolved into the hum of the house. When he opened them, the footprints had dried, but the presence lingered, a chill in the corner, a watchful stillness. He knew, without doubt, that the ride would never end. It spun on in some other layer of the night, fade to black.